She stood in line at the cafe, phone in one hand, planner in the other. No makeup, no designer heels. Just jeans, sneakers, and a sweatshirt that read "Black Women Build Empires." Her name was Amina Fields, 32, brown skin, natural curls pulled back into a neat puff, calm demeanor, quiet power. To anyone else, she was just another customer grabbing coffee on a Monday morning, but the man behind the counter had already made up his mind. Next, the barista called, distracted. Amina stepped forward, and that's when he said it, loud enough for the others to hear, with a smirk curling on his lips. "You don't look like a CEO." The words hit harder than he probably intended, or maybe exactly as he intended. It wasn't the first time she'd heard something like that, but coming from him, the cafe's new regional manager who'd just relocated from a different city, it stung different. He didn't know her, didn't know what she built, didn't know what she survived. Amina smiled softly. "Excuse me?" The manager didn't flinch. "I said, you don't look like a CEO. Most of them come in here wearing suits, not hoodies." She glanced down at her sweatshirt, then up at him. "And what does a CEO look like exactly?" He laughed under his breath. "You know, clean cut, polished, not..." He gestured vaguely. "This." The barista beside him, a young black woman, froze, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. Amina didn't flinch. Instead, she reached into her tote bag, pulled out a matte black card. Gold-embossed letters gleamed under the fluorescent lights. She slid it across the counter slowly. The manager glanced at it. Then again. His smirk faded. "Amina Fields," he read out loud. "Founder, CEO, Fine Tech Solutions." She waited. "Wait, you're that Amina Fields?" She nodded once. "I'm also the reason your company's Wi-Fi hasn't crashed in 3 weeks. My firm rebuilt your payment integration." The barista's jaw dropped. The manager blinked, the color draining from his face. Amina leaned forward. "You should be careful who you talk down to," she said calmly, "because one day they might just own the ground you're standing on." She grabbed her coffee, walked away, but the story doesn't end there. To understand how Amina became the CEO everyone underestimated, you need to know where she came from. Born and raised in the south side of Chicago, one of 5 kids, Mama worked 2 jobs, Daddy wasn't around. They didn't have much, except heart and hunger. By 16, Amina was coding websites in the school library. Not for a class, for cash, local businesses, church groups, anyone who'd pay. She got a scholarship to a top university, but she dropped out after a semester. Why? Because they told her to tone it down, told her she'd be more marketable with straighter hair, told her to stop correcting professors when they got code wrong in class. So she left, built her own way. She started small, laptop, folding table, ramen for days, but her software worked and word spread fast. She built fine tech from her garage, hired other women, mostly black and brown coders, designers, engineers, people like her. People who were always told they didn't look the part. By 30, she had contracts with major cities, hospitals, schools, quietly powerful, wildly successful, but never flashy. She wasn't doing it for clout. She was building something that lasted. Return to present. The manager didn't apologize that day, just muttered something about being surprised and walked away. But Amina, she never forgot that moment. It was familiar. Too familiar. Because this wasn't the first time someone mistook her for less. Cut to 6 months earlier, Amina had pitched a citywide digital reform project for the Department of Housing, a $20 million contract. She had the best proposal, scored the highest in every category, but the selection committee gave it to another company, a newer one, run by a man named Grant Bishop, white, polished, MBA from Stanford, wore tailored suits, and talked fast in buzzwords. Amina saw right through him. She dug into his history. Turns out, his firm had 0 experience in housing tech, but you know what they did have? Connections. One of the committee heads used to sit on Bishop's board. It was a backdoor deal, corrupt, and dangerous, because while they were playing politics, the city's most vulnerable communities were suffering. Eviction tracking systems weren't updated. People were falling through the cracks. Amina didn't let it go. She started digging deeper. Turned out, Grant Bishop's firm was overcharging the city, hundreds of thousands missing in miscellaneous fees. When she brought it up to the city's procurement office, they dismissed her, called her overly passionate, said she was making it personal, but it was personal because Amina knew what it felt like to live on the edge, knew what happened when systems failed, knew how fast people disappeared when no one was watching. So she watched, quietly, closely, until she found it, a whistleblower. One of Bishop's former engineers, anonymous but furious. They sent Amina a file, encrypted, hidden inside a spreadsheet. It contained internal emails, fake invoices, manipulated billing codes, proof. She brought it to Bernice Palmer, a fearless investigative journalist who had once exposed a major real estate scam in the city. Bernice verified it, and they launched a full investigation. The headline dropped on a Wednesday morning: exclusive, city contractor accused of billing fraud in housing system overhaul. Grant Bishop's name was plastered everywhere. By noon, the city suspended the contract. By Friday, subpoenas were issued, and by Monday, Amina got a call, not from the press, from the mayor. He offered her the contract, said it was always hers to begin with. She declined, told him, "If you want real change, it's not just about switching names, it's about cleaning house." She gave him a list of reforms, transparency protocols, minority contractor protections, real accountability. She didn't want the deal, she wanted justice. The mayor listened, and things started to shift, just a little, but enough. Back to the cafe manager. Remember him? 2 months after that awkward encounter, he got demoted. Turns out, there had been multiple complaints, discrimination, hostile environment. Amina didn't file one. She didn't have to. People were watching now. And the barista who had witnessed it all? Amina offered her a job. Tech apprentice. Paid training. Career path. Because that's what real CEOs do. They don't just rise, they lift. But then, just when things seem right, one night, Amina got an email. No sender, no subject, just one line. "You've made powerful enemies. Watch your back." She stared at the screen. The timestamp was 3:17 a.m., and the IP address, it traced back to a government building. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from rage. Because now, it wasn't just about business. It was about survival. She opened a locked drawer, pulled out a second phone, dialed. A voice answered after one ring. "You said if they ever came for me again, you'd be ready." The voice responded calmly. "We are." Amina's eyes narrowed. "Then let's finish what we started." Amina hadn't slept in 2 days. Not really. Ever since that anonymous message, the walls felt closer. Every shadow seemed to move. Every sound outside her window carried weight. She was used to pressure, built for it, even. But this was different. This was war. She called an emergency meeting at Fine Tech headquarters. 6 women, 4 men, her most trusted inner circle, all brilliant, all loyal, all with a reason to fight. In the glass-walled boardroom high above the city, Amina laid everything out: the whistleblower, the fake invoices, the message from inside the government network. She ended with one question: how far are we willing to go? No one flinched, not even Zara, her legal advisor, who had once gone head-to-head with the DOJ. "Far," Zara said. "All the way." Flashback 2 years ago. Amina had once been approached by a shadowy investor group, anonymous money, big promises, but something felt off. Too eager, too invasive, too male. She declined, quietly. Months later, those same investors funded a rival tech firm. Guess who was on their board? Grant Bishop. He hadn't just undercut her government contract, he was trying to erase her. Zara stood. "If the message came from inside a government building, we need to trace it, but quietly. No subpoenas, no alerts." Jules, Fine Tech's cybersecurity lead, nodded. "I can do that. Ghost style. Nothing leads back to us. Amina looked at her team. No mistakes. If they smell us coming, they'll bury it. And us. Across town, Grant Bishop sat in his penthouse suite, staring at his phone. The article Amina helped publish had destroyed his public image. But not his power. He had deep ties, deep pockets, and an even deeper grudge. She should have known her place, he said coldly, tossing his empty glass. A man in a dark suit stepped from the shadows. We warned her. Apparently, that wasn't enough. Back at Fine Tech Jewels, cracked the origin of the email. It didn't come from a random IP. It was routed through a secure municipal network reserved for internal affairs. Zara frowned. That's the Ethics Commission. Amina's eyes narrowed. That means either someone inside is helping us or setting us up. They needed proof and leverage. She made a plan. Split the team into two. One half dug into Bishop's financials. The other investigated the Ethics Commission's internal files. Then something strange happened. Jules found a hidden folder in a city server. Encrypted. Labeled only with a date. August 14th, 03. Amina's blood ran cold. That was the date her father was arrested. Framed for insurance fraud by a shady contractor. A contractor later tied to city housing corruption. This goes back decades, she whispered. Suddenly, this wasn't just about her company. It was about her family, her past, and a system built to crush people who looked like her. Later that night, her second phone buzzed. One-word message. Beacon. She knew what it meant. The old abandoned Beacon building downtown. That's where the whistleblower wanted to meet. She didn't tell her team. She went alone. She stepped inside. Old lights flickered. Dust in the air. A shadow emerged from the stairwell. A man. Mid-40s. Nervous. Amina. Depends who's asking. He handed her a flash drive. Everything's on here. Invoices. Internal memos. Even the names of the officials on their payroll. She reached for it. He pulled back. You need to understand, they won't stop. Not until you're destroyed. Then they should have picked someone weaker. Someone was watching them. Red laser, glass shatter. A shot rings out. The whistleblower falls. Amina runs, clutching the flash drive. Her car screeches into the night. She calls Zara. They shot him. He didn't make it. I have the drive. Zara is silent, then says don't come back to HQ. Why? Because someone just broke in. They knew our firewall. They knew everything. She whispers to herself. They want war. Then let's burn it down.